So we have basically half of America who think the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States is nothing but garbage, that it should be thrown away. So what's going on? Well, as most of the people that watch this show know that I was a city councilman for 6 years in the city of Bridgeport. And the district I was in, the person who was basically running that district was Chris Caruso. And I started off helping Chris and getting him elected as city alderman and getting involved with the people that help him. And at first I thought Chris was a pretty good guy. And then the election was in 1990, and 1991. And Chris, at that point in time, was running for state representative, and he was running against Bob Keeley. And Chris won the primary and becomes state representative. And before that happened, he told me that he was going to drop out as a city alderman and put me in his place to kind of groom me for down the road. Well, it turns out that Chris Caruso was less than honest, and I was disappointed with Chris and his eventually with the people that supported him, and I became a Republican. But the transformation from Democrat to Republican wasn't as nice as I thought it was going to be. And I liked what the Republican Party stood for, or on paper anyway. And when I made my decision to become a Republican, the state Republican committee chairman promised me a job, and he was going to talk to John Rowland, and he was going to do all kinds of stuff, and none of that came true. So I started looking at the party that I left and the party that I went to, and I didn't see much of a difference. The people talked a good game because they were politicians, but they didn't come through on their promises. So basically, their promises were empty. But I stayed in the party because I didn't really want to become an independent at that point. And I found that the people in the Republican Party were no better people than in the Democrat Party. They would tell you what they wanted to tell you, and then when they had to, they would change their minds. Or they would lie to you. So anyway, I became disillusioned with the Republican Party in Bridgeport. As a Republican, there are certain things you look for and hope that the people that represent the party are are good people. Um, some of them are, and some of them aren't. So, how how do you determine a person who contends they want to be a leader? What 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 what's the qualifications for a leader? Well, for me, a qualification for a leader is somebody who's basically honest with you. If they tell you they're going to do something, they need to do it, because uh, one of the run-ins that I had with Joe Ganem's father when Joe was the mayor was that um, I walked the district with Joe before he became the mayor in direct opposition to Chris Crusoe, because Chris Crusoe and Joe Ganem, they didn't like each other. I don't know what caused the rift there, but there was a rift. And Chris wasn't happy that I was taking Joe Ganem around the district. What happened is that Joe Ganem was asked a question by one of my constituents. And the question was, will you give your brother's girlfriend's mother a city job? And Joe Ganem said, "Oh, absolutely not. She's not going to get a job. She's not qualified, blah, 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 blah." So we get elected, and one of the first things that Joe does is Joe Ganem appoints Mina DeSora to a city job. And my constituent was real pissed. And when he saw me, he told me, he said, "Hey, Joe Ganem told me that this wasn't going to happen." And I said, "Yeah, I know." So I wrote a letter to the Connecticut Compost. At that time, I think it was still the Bridgeport Compost. And I basically said that the only thing a politician has is his word. And if you're a politician and your word is worthless, then so are you. You're a miserable, worthless human being. If you have the ability to look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, and then lie to them, which is what Joe Ganem did. So how does government supposed to be for the people? How are they supposed to act? How are they supposed to conduct their business? Politicians, from what I've seen in the local area, going from seeing what's happened in Bridgeport and seeing the deceit and the lies and the cheating and the stealing, you become as a person, as a taxpayer, you become disillusioned. Government isn't what that says it is, and the people that work for government aren't what they say they are, and everything becomes convoluted. So, what changed recently? Well, what changed for me is that Donald Trump came down the elevator in 2015, and I listened to the guy. Um, I had respect for him for the simple reason that he wasn't a politician like George Washington. A lot of the early people involved in the government of the United States, they weren't politicians. They were business people. They were doctors and lawyers and teachers, ministers. So they didn't really want people to make a career out of politics. Be there for a couple of terms, do a good job for the American people, and then get the hell out and go back home to your regular job. And that worked for a while. And then as time progressed in the United States, people started to, oh, I like politics. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to do a lot of things. And I make a little money that I can take home to my family. I'm not working a full year. I'm probably not even working a half a year. And I have the power and the prestige of being a United States congressman or a United States senator or president or vice president of the United States. Okay. That's fine and well. And the people of the United States should be the direct influence of what happens in our system. Of the people, by the people, for the people. That's what government should have as their guiding light. That the people of the United States are the ones that are important, not us, the senators, or members of the House of Representatives. So what do you need to do as a member of the Senate or the House? Well, you should be passing bills that help American citizens. And the key word, American citizens. This is the United States of America. And people that had their family members citizens, they're citizens. But when you have people that disobey the laws of our land, things should be different. Laws that are passed should help American citizens improve their life. It shouldn't be where you read, oh, this person made a lot of money because they were trading on insider information because they're a senator, or they're getting this kind of information because they're Speaker of the House. And using their position of authority to make a ton of money, while the people they expect the people home, like you and I, to pay for everything. Taxes. They tax everything in America. Some states are worse than others. Connecticut, horrible state. people, for whatever reason, vote Democrat, and they don't care how much money it costs them. They don't care how ignorant their children become going to school here. There's a lot of downside to bad politics. So, for example, in the last couple of weeks, since our last show, there have been things that the Republican members of the House and the Senate have done that have really pissed me off. I mean, when you have senators, Republican senators, team up with the Democrats and vote to prevent the president, Donald Trump, who has a right under the Constitution to do certain things, and you vote against the President of the United States filling out his constitutional duties, and then on top of that, the vote is 50-50, and it takes 51 votes to pass any kind of legislation in the Senate and in the House. It takes 50% plus one vote in the House, and the same thing in the Senate. And you, as the Vice President of the United States, on the same party line as the President of the United States, and you vote against the President of the United States using his authority to send troops anywhere in the world. And you have the 50 Republicans and the Vice President voting against the one president in my lifetime, and I'm 73, who came to power, who was elected twice. He was president number 45, and now he's president number 47. And you vote against the president from those words in the Declaration, the Constitution of the United States, and you prevent the president from doing his job. Shame on you. And not only did they vote against, the Republicans vote against Donald Trump sending troops, they voted against the President Donald Trump trying to save money for the people of America, tries to lower their expenses. And what the 81 Republican House members do, they team up with the Democrats and vote hundreds of millions of dollars to a Democrat NGO who basically works for Democrats. 81 congressmen voted to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to support a Democrat, not leaning, Democrat run and actually works for Democrats. Against what Donald Trump is trying to do. So it's like 2 slaps in the face. But then there was another one. There was another vote in Congress. And what they did was, in order to get away, to get judges out of their positions, judges that are doing harm to the way the United States is run. And this Democrat judge hates Donald Trump and America. And the Republicans had a chance to defund this judge from Washington, D.C., which is a government-run city. It's the capital of the United States of America. And it comes under the jurisdiction of the political system. And you had Republicans vote with the Democrats to keep this guy's job, who tried to destroy Donald Trump in every way that he could. Three killing votes in 2 weeks. Think about that. So you as a Republican or a conservative, you get you're amazed at how Republican, especially leadership, we're talking the Senate majority leader, and the Vice President of the United States voting against Donald J. Trump as president. That, my friends, is totally unacceptable. If J.D. Vance comes up for in 2028 and he happens to win the Republican nod to run for president of the United States, I may not vote for the Democrat, but I'm definitely not going to vote for J.D. Vance. That is a given. That's not a person that I want to see sitting in the Oval Office. No, not going to happen. Now, when we talk about government being for the people and doing things for the people, what has Congress done for the American people? Well, the one thing they did for this whole year, for Donald Trump's first year, is basically they passed one bill. The big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump wanted to have passed. And that, my friends, is the only thing the Republicans have done for a whole year. They've sat on their laurels. I figured they passed this bill, and that's all they're going to do. The government shut down. The Democrats voted to shut the government down. But the Republicans had the ability to reopen the government, but chose not to. And they used the excuse, oh, the Democrats voted to shut it down. Yeah, but you had the power as majority leader of the Senate to reopen the government, and you chose not to do that. So what's going on in Washington, D.C.? Well, first of all, you have President Trump writing hundreds of executive orders. Now, what is an executive order? Executive order is basically like it says. Supposedly, the pen is supposed to be mightier than the sword. So you write something up and say that I want this done. Signs his name. And as long as he's president of the United States, that executive order is taken care of. It's basically law as long as the president that wrote that executive order is president. Now, there were a number of executive orders that Donald Trump wrote that would have made good laws. And to show you how worthless executive orders are, one of the first things that Donald Trump did was null and void all of Joe Biden's executive orders. That's how easy it is to get rid of an executive order. The next person who sits in the Oval Office says, no, don't like these. I'm gonna write an executive order, and we're gonna shit can all Joe Biden's garbage. That's politics. That's the way the system is. But there were a number of those executive orders that would make great law. One executive order was that men, biological men, can't play in women's sports. It's only an executive order. The next president that comes in, if they don't like that executive order, they write another one saying men can play in women's sports. And they throw Donald Trump's executive order into the garbage pile. So executive orders are good for at least 4 years. So what does the people that control government, the Republicans that control the House and control the Senate, they can take a lot of those executive orders that are pertinent to making America a better country. They can make into laws. Now, there are two ways you can get a law, get a bill into the House and Senate, and then to the desk of the president to be signed. There's the hard way, and there's the easy way. Good evening, you're on Tuna Talk.
Hi, Al.
Hello.
Hello. Two things. When did J.D. vote against Trump? You're not talking about recently, are you?
Within this week, there was 51 to 50. 50 Democrats voted for this bill, joined by to prevent Donald Trump from using the military to attack like Venezuela again.
He voted against that?
Yes, he was the 51st vote. Because it was a tie. It wasn't
covered on the news.
It was a tie, 50-50.
Yeah,
and
totally missed that.
he broke the tie.
Was, in the most recent news, the government is now investigating Waltz and Fry, whatever his name is, in Minneapolis. The government is now investigating them for alleged conspiracy to impede immigration agents.
Well, according to the Constitution, that's true. And according to the oath of office, you have to obey the Constitution of the United States of
Absolutely.
America.
Absolutely.
And you're a governor.
I take that vow when I do my volunteer work.
Yeah.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the
Oh,
United
really?
States and the Constitution
Wow.
of the state of Connecticut against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we say the same vow.
Wow.
We
That's
say the same thing before we go out and volunteer. We have to take an oath, and we have to stand up to it.
yes.
Against
Yeah.
all enemies, foreign and domestic. I take this obligation freely without purpose of evasion or blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So,
Right.
and so I absolutely agree with you. And we don't swear on the Quran when we do it.
No. No. It's in fact, I don't think there were any Muslims in America at the time of the Constitution being written, but I wasn't there, so of course, some
Right.
people say I'm old enough to have been there.
I'll have to look into that JB thing. I completely missed it.
Yeah.
And I did not see it covered on the regular news, on my regular news.
You didn't see it. I think I picked it up on Carl Higby's 6 o'clock on Newsmax.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Okay. I don't always get over to Newsmax. Like
yeah.
I used to. I will.
Yeah, see, I've lost a lot of faith in Fox News for the simple reason that when the guy that was owned Fox turned it over to his son, and his son kind of leans to the left, and you also had the last Republicans, no, not the last one, that was Charlie McCarthy. The Speaker of the House before Charlie McCarthy, the Republican Speaker of the House, has joined Fox, and he is kind of an anti-Trumper, and he leans Fox towards the left. They haven't crossed over.
It depends on who's on, and it depends on what's going on and who's covering what. But,
Yeah.
I still like some of their people.
No,
so.
some of the people, yes, yeah.
I also bought some stock in Newsmax, so I want it to do well.
Of course you do. So that
All right,
sounds
honey, well, thank you for the clarification.
okay.
And just keep an eye on the news because they're looking at investigating those two clowns in Minnesota.
Well, but it shouldn't be just them. It should be the three left coast governors, California, Washington, Oregon.
Well, they haven't gone out of their way to obstruct yet.
They did in L.A. They did in L.A. when so when you're looking at situations, they don't stop people in New York.
No, I know that. I just mean that this is what's being covered because of that woman who rammed the officer.
Yeah.
You got to get back on Facebook, kid.
I tried, and they told me when I tried again that I was basically in limbo. I don't know why. Changed the name.
Find another name and.
It was another
it
name.
another way.
It was another name and another computer, and
Oh,
still couldn't get on. So I don't know. You know,
Trying.
that's all I can do. Yep.
You guys on again in February for your birthday?
Just before, just around our birthdays, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to call in tonight.
Okay. No, you probably wouldn't have even been watching the show, so.
No, I was watching. I didn't call in because it went right to the end.
Yeah.
No, I was watching. I always watch.
Okay.
Okay, honey, keep in touch.
Okay. Have a good night.
Bye.
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 So, men and women's sports, executive order. Like I said, there's two ways of getting a bill through the Senate. The hard way, the easy way. The hard way is a filibuster. Now, a filibuster, I don't know how many people saw the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And one of the things Mr. Smith does is when he gets to I should say Senator Smith, when he gets to the floor of the Senate and he speaks on this bill and he filibusters the bill and he goes on and on and on and on. Well, that's the way they used to do filibusters. Now, if the leadership of the House, if the leadership of the Senate wants to bring a bill forward, they have two options. Now, the sad part is that neither one of the options, neither one, are in the Constitution. So it's basically up to the leader of the Senate Majority Leader has the right to decide whether it's going to be a hard way of bringing a bill or an easy way of bringing the bill. Now, the filibuster, in order to get the bill to the floor, it takes 60 votes. 60 votes for the filibuster. If you reach the 60 votes, and now you've brought the bill to the floor, you've had all the senators talk about it, and now you get a chance to vote on it. How many votes does it take to pass a bill brought in under the filibuster? Takes 51. Half plus one. So if there's only 90 members there, it's 46 to pass the bill. So, and with the filibuster, it only takes one person out of 100 to prevent anything from happening in the United States Senate. One person. Think about that. You got 100 members of a organization, one that probably the most important organization in the United States of America. You only have 100 members of this organization, and it takes one person to bring the whole house of cards down. Okay, so that's the hard way of bringing a bill to the floor of the Senate. Now they have the easy way of doing it. The easy way, well, they call it the nuclear option, but it does have a specific term. And the nuclear option, what that does, and why it's the easy version of bringing a bill to the Senate floor, is because it only takes half the members present plus one. So in a normal situation, it takes 51 votes to bring a bill to the Senate floor so it can be discussed and then voted on. And how many votes does it take to pass the bill on the Senate floor once the discussion is entered? 51. So there's no difference between the filibuster voting for a bill for the filibuster than it is for the nuclear option. The problem is that, like I said, to be a leader, you need determination and big brass balls. If you don't have determination and you have little marbles, you're not going to get anything done. And if you take a look at it in the last decades, our Congress doesn't accomplish very much. Why? Because they run under the filibuster rule most of the time. But they could get it done easily by using the nuclear option, which comes under the direction of the Senate Majority Leader. And that's how they could have opened up government when the Democrats voted to shut it down. The Republican leadership could have said, time out, we're going to operate under the nuclear option, and it's only going to take us 51 votes to reopen the government versus 60. Think about that. 51 versus 60, and the Republicans have 53 votes. Actually, they have 54 if you need the vice president to vote on something, but that only happens when there's a tie. So, why doesn't the Senate Majority Leader open the Senate under the nuclear option, bring that bill to the floor, because you know the Democrats will filibuster having men not play in women's sports. They want men to play in women's sports. So by having the filibuster, Democrats win. Having the nuclear option, women win. Because the Republicans can bring it to the floor, talk about the bill, and then vote on it and send it up to Donald Trump. And because Donald Trump made it an executive order, you know he's going to sign it. Now, they could have done that, the Senate. The Senate could have did the executive order from Trump on English as the language of America, and the Republicans have done nothing. And they could have brought, so you got English as the major language. You can have an executive order that Trump had that doctors and teachers could not physically change the sex of your child without your permission. They could have made that a law. Now, is a law, once it's signed by the President of the United States, can laws be undone? Yes, they can. There's two ways laws can be undone. The Supreme Court could rule that this law is unconstitutional. Number two, the new Congress could change the law by making a different law saying that we're going to shit can this one and we're going to utilize this one. But laws are much more difficult to change and get rid of than executive orders done by the President of the United States. So there were a lot of good executive orders that President Trump has put through that our Congress, especially the majority leader of the Senate, has got no balls. And they don't want to use, we can't use the nuclear option because Democrats will use it. Nothing in the Constitution prevents the Democrats from using the nuclear option. So if the Democrats, if they get control of the Senate, can use the nuclear option any time they want. As long as whoever's in charge of the Senate has the ability, filibuster, nuclear option. Hard versus easy. And when you have easy ways of getting good legislation to the Senate that can be voted on and sent to the President of the United States for his or her signature, that's a win for everybody. Everybody wins. But if nothing gets done because Republican leadership have no balls, nothing gets done. Is that what the people of the United States wants? Gridlock? I don't think so. And I think voting for Donald Trump the way they did in 2024 basically showed me that they don't want gridlock. They don't want what you see on the TV set of the Democrats basically pissing on ICE or any government official. No, that's not what the people voted for. But that's what our Republican leadership in the Congress is doing. They do not want to lead because they're afraid that the Democrats might do tit for tat. The problem is there's nothing to stop them because it's not in the Constitution. There's nothing to stop them from using the nuclear option. Because like I said, neither the nuclear option nor the filibuster are in the Constitution of the United States of America. So the guy that has the biggest brass balls wins. So now the senators can do their job. They can vote on things. They can bring things to the floor, and they can pass good legislation and send it to the president for the president's either signing the bill into law or vetoing the law. But if you do nothing, like the Republicans are doing, which is basically the same thing the Democrats did when Obama was president, the only thing that they did was they passed the Affordable Care Act, which isn't affordable. And we had Republicans, that's another thing that happened 2-3 weeks ago, that Republicans voted to extend the Unaffordable Care Act for 3 years. So they kicked the can down the road. How do you stay a Republican? What's the reason for being a Republican when the Republicans sell you out? It's like I don't do business with certain companies like AARP and Bank of America because those two companies work against my best interests. So if you're going to work against my best interests, I don't want to do business with you. So that's how you have to decide, um, you know, are you going to vote Republican? Are you going to stay a Republican? Or are you going to become, don't want to become a Democrat again? Did that once and didn't enjoy it. But I don't enjoy being a Republican either because of the crap that they're pulling. Something I haven't done in a while, giving out the Golden Ace Hole Award. I'm giving the Golden Ace Hole Award to J.D. Vance and the so-called leadership of the Republican Party. That's one. And number two, I'm giving this Golden Ace Hole Award to Democrat officials who spit on the Constitution by letting illegal things happen in their cities and states. So there you have it. A doubleheader for the Golden Ace Hole Award. Democrats and Republicans, basically two peas in a pod, and they deserve that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting late. I want everybody to have a good night and a good weekend, and I think we'll see you in 2 weeks. Everybody have a good night and stay safe.